I have this problem where I'm always losing the plot and I'm convinced that it's her. The other girl has been a mysterious figure in my writing. Before I had named her, she was there in traces. I guess she could be considered a version of myself, a shadow lurking in the corner, an embodied character of my fears, my worst self, my evil twin, so to speak. To say that she is just a shadow self would be to reduce her. She is the ghost in my archive. She is not solid matter, but this doesn't make her any less real. I want to understand her. If I can, make peace with her. Although often it does not feel like she wants to live in peace with me. So here I am, excavating all the clues, holding them up to the light. These excerpts come from bits and pieces of my writing. Some are from smaller form essays and others are from a novel I'm trying to write. I want to compile it all together to get to know her, to meet her where she's at. She is kind, attentive, and then aloof and cold. She makes you vie for her attention. She would hold your hand and then call you names behind your back. She would make you wish that you were never even born. And then she would touch that space where you can feel one's veins protruding through the wrist. And she would tell you what it means that your veins looked green. There are colors that look better on olive skin, she would say. What I find interesting about this is here I've identified her as more of a complex mean girl. The girl you were friends with in middle school. You couldn't understand what constituted your loyalty to her, and yet you would go back to her time and time again. She only needed to offer you a moment of her attention. This was a kinder interpretation, one that invoked perhaps more space for understanding. In the vacuum of school, she exerted her power, her social domination. But outside of that world, she was just like all the rest of us. It was perhaps her ultimate powerlessness that made her hungry to assert her power over others. Today, the other girl is fighting with me. She is pulling my hair, scratching my face. Sometimes she is more active in her vindictiveness. It's not just passive aggression, a middle school, mean girl level of social intelligence that makes you question your own sanity. No, sometimes she wants to fight. I remember where I was when I wrote this. I had just moved back to Montreal, was living in a one-bedroom apartment that was over 100 years old, and it showed. It was a 6-month lease. After the whole place would be gutted out and turned into a whole new apartment with rent probably doubled. Just one piece in a sea of a changing neighborhood. I spent those first few months unemployed, lying on the scratched hardwood floors, staring at cracks in the ceiling. It felt impossible to escape her on those days. Everywhere I turned, there she was. I had a dream during that time. It was a full moon in April. I was fighting an invisible assailant. It was so vivid and intense. I was kicking and shoving, pushing and biting, and as the whole scene began to climax, I thought to myself, who am I fighting? A clear and still voice said, yourself. I stopped and it became so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Throughout the year, the other girl was chasing me, beating me over the head, pinning me down and pulling my hair. On beautiful summer days, I wondered if I needed to leave the house or sit down and write. This freedom of choice felt like an unbearable burden. I felt like I was in stasis, like there was a right decision, and I couldn't figure out how to make it. The other girl was berating me, taunting me, wanting me to make the wrong choice, the bad choice. The bad choice. This sounds so childish when I hear it back. I think when I was writing this, it was after my 23rd year. It was a year that I fell in love, buried my childhood dog, and in many ways was really at war with myself. I wrote this in January. I thought it was all over then, this complex female relationship I was having with my shadow self. If she was who I feared becoming, what I really feared being was wrong. She was keeping me away from being good, from being right. Sun-warming skin, a glow radiating from the inside, an internal rhythm that has set itself aligned with everything in the entire cosmos. I am the sun, the moon, the river, and the trees. I don't question my existence, or wonder what I am to do with all this time that is afforded to me. I just am. My existence is simply enough. I perform my task because it is who I am and not what I do. There is this pure and overwhelming feeling of bliss. Is that too much to ask for? God, and I want her so bad, this version of myself. It is only she that can make me whole. She is my other half in that time before now we were one. Now we are separate. Maybe it is my whole purpose to find my way back to her. It is now that I know her as the beloved that I wonder what keeps her from me. I think it is her, that shadow in the corner. Settle your eyes on it for only a moment and the whole room rearranges itself in her image. It's not her action that drags me by my feet into the pits of hell. It's her inaction, her utter slovenly passivity. She has her feet kicked up on the coffee table. She's smoking bowls and bowls of weed from a gravity bong that she made. No need for even the action of sucking, just lips aimed on the bottle cap. The TV is on. It's some prestige HBO show with long sex scenes and men in suits. There is this gnawing feeling that something is amiss, but she can't quite find the thought attached to that feeling. After work, every evening goes on like this, from now till eternity. It is her absolute and complete wretchedness that is keeping me from my true love. She gives in completely to all the forces of gravity enacting on her. I need her, I need her, I need her. I want to be the sun. I want to shine. I want to be the best version of myself. I need her. I want this version of myself so bad. The sparkling, shining self in the distance. Over there, she is the real writer. She's disciplined and in flow with all things. But she isn't real. She's just an oasis in the distance, that when approached is only heat and a trick of light. Imagination is the core of desire. Writing about desire, the archaic poets made triangles with their words, or to put it less sharply, they represent situations that ought to involve two factors, lover, beloved, in terms of three, lover, beloved, and the space between them, however realized. This lazy self, this wrong self, this other girl that's triangulating my desire for my beloved, obstructing my ability to get to her. Instead of waking up and writing for 2 hours, I've stayed in bed, and it's all her fault. Maybe this is why I hate her so much. For so many years, I thought she was wasting away all of my best potential. If we follow the trajectory of Eros, we consistently find it tracing out the same route. It moves out from the lover, towards the beloved, then ricochets back to the lover, himself and the whole in him, unnoticed before. Who is the real subject of most love poems? Not the beloved, it is that whole. I had a shroom trip once where I had this insistent feeling that there was this other entity inside of me. I kept turning my head, wanting to look her in the face. But every time I turned, she turned. She was other to me, but also wholly me. I sense her sometimes in moments when I'm deeply scared that I'm a bad person, or when I'm deeply scared that I will never be the writer that I want to be. It is a deep, dense feeling. A cavernous hole inside myself. A girl-shaped hole. A girl that is present in her absence. She is made up of all the things that I don't have. This other girl I once thought was an evil gremlin thing, but the truth is her energy is a vacuum. She's a hole, shape-shifting. I'm always filling the space that she has left behind. I'm beginning to think it isn't her fault. Maybe it was me all along. She was just an empty space, a placeholder for my worst doubts, shames, and fears. I spent so long grasping at some better version of myself. When desire has been consummated, it ceases to be desire. But that's the thing. Desire wants to keep on desiring. I was an outstretched hand, and in that chasm between me and some elusive better self, I had placed this other girl. In my mind, she was keeping me from my wholeness, but she was just a finger pointing to that hole, inviting me to the edge of myself. It's like that Seneca quote, "Why do you postpone yourself?" I thought it meant, why do you postpone becoming the person that you want to be, that sparkling, shiny self? Now, I don't think it's that at all. In fact, it is this very mirage in the distance that allows you to put yourself off. It assures that the life you desire is always a few feet ahead of you, always hovering out of reach, promising much but giving very little. Why do you postpone yourself now for some illusion in the distance? And more importantly, why are you punishing her? I felt like giving in, like letting it consume me, like letting that other girl, that evil girl, that mean girl, that spiteful girl, that reigns on the party girl, fill every cell in my body. I had banished her to some dark corner where she only knows shadows cast by candles. I performed rituals alone in my bedroom, casting her out of every spot in the room the sunlight touches. She has tortured me and made me miserable for too long. Though I have a confession. In the middle of the night when the faucet is dripping in the sink, and I can feel time moving around me, I can hear her laughing at me. Or no, maybe I think she's sobbing. Her mouth is shaping out some words, rounding and pursing. Maybe elephant shoe. Maybe I love you. When I wrote this, I was feeling bad for her. I knew it wasn't her fault. It even occurs to me sometimes that I've been part of her villain arc. I've somehow made her into this evil thing haunting the corner of the room where the light doesn't touch. Maybe she didn't hate me. Maybe all along it was me who hated her. Maybe. This summer was a reckoning with how badly I was struggling with PMDD, every month feeling like I was brought within an inch of my sanity. During a particularly bad episode, all I could think about was the parable of Jacob wrestling the angel, as told in Sheila Heti's Motherhood. That night, Jacob got up and found his 2 wives, his 2 maidservants, and his 11 sons, and carried them across a river. After they were across, he sent his possessions over too. Then Jacob was left alone, and a creature wrestled with him till daybreak. When the creature saw that he could not overpower Jacob, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip so that his hip was wrenched. Then the creature said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak. I will not let you go until you bless me." Jacob says, "Please tell me your name." But the creature said, "Why do you ask my name?" and blessed him there. And then she writes a little bit about, I don't know what this means. Like this. All the fighting takes place at night. That is the first thing I notice.
Curiosity or politeness towards the demon angel comes next. Then the angel gives Jacob a new name. The most important thing is that Jacob continues to fight even after he is injured, and instead of fear or anger towards the demon angel, he asks to be blessed. I think that is the most moving part. That opens up something inside me.
On a cursed train ride back during the summer solstice, all I could think was, I'm fighting this demon, I'm fighting this angel, I'm fighting this demon, I'm fighting this angel. I felt so deeply cursed. I couldn't escape this other girl. She was raining on my party, she was breathing down my neck. I felt during these times that without a body of her own, she was taking over mine, making me uncontrollable, weak, and vulnerable. She was my wrestling ground, and she refused to let me go. She would not let me forget what I did to her, how I had made her this wretched thing. But she was not doing it to punish me. I think she was doing it to save me. In the story of Jacob wrestling the angel, I kept thinking, what makes something a demon and what makes something an angel? What makes a curse, and what makes a blessing? All the fighting happened at night, but when the day broke, something changed. Instead of hate or fear towards this creature, there was a curiosity, maybe even a neutral sort of feeling. He then received his blessing. It reminded me of my dream. There I was, so consumed in the drama of the fight, but then there was a curiosity that emerged. Who am I fighting, I thought. When I discovered it was myself, there was this cavernous void, a silence that was vast. The curiosity seemed to open this neutral space in between, a space for the tide to turn. What if the other girl is an angel? What if she has blessed me? The thing is, I did not think my love had conditions. I did not think that there was a part of me that I hated more than anything else. She was a mean girl, an invisible assailant, a bad influence, a rival lover, that whole, a sympathetic villain, an angel. Through it all, she demanded that I look at her, that I meet her face to face. These were all just stories, and it was all okay. She wanted me to know that I was here, and she was here, and we were here, and that was all.